Yep,
Yep.
basically. I have my moments, but taking longer than I wanted, but that's all right. I guess I didn't put it on this fast either, so.
That's why nobody could get a hold of us all weekend. The crisis line that was being called was the wrong number.
Okay.
So that's the proper number.
Good deal.
That will get people to shop for we can do what needed to be
Yeah,
done.
that all worked out this weekend?
That all worked out. Yes. Thank you for reaching out.
Yes.
Okay, it is 9 o'clock. We will call to order the meeting, law enforcement meeting for December. Certification of open meeting law requirements have been met. Need a motion to adopt the 9-item agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Schreiner, second
Second.
by Mr. Ziegler. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are, agenda is adopted. Adoption of prior meeting minutes from 11/17/21.
Move for its adoption.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes are adopted. Public comment period. The number is 715-538-1770. If you have any comments.
Try to find, I have this on my top end, so I don't know where all the icons are on this one yet.
Again, for any public comments, call into 715-538-1770. For public comment, again, the number is 715-538-1770. Well, hearing no calls, we will move on to number 6, coroner requesting reimbursement of vehicle purchase that is used for coroner duties, including previous repairs made to the vehicle.
I got the actual bill.
Oh, okay.
What
John?
happened was, this went through budget hearings, and we turned it down a budget hearing because it didn't go through proper channels, and it still hasn't gone through any committee. But the idea was you originally bought a van for transporting bodies, and he put racks in there so you can just slide everything in and whatever. So the original vehicle was $5,000, and it had $875 in brakes and stuff like that, and new tires, $468.63 for tires, and the total bill is $6,343.70. And she came by my office wanting to get it paid for. I have no problem with it, but it's got to go through some committee, so I figured this is the logical one, and probably should make it part of the sheriff's fleet, so they could. We talked about that a little bit the other day. She was in again yesterday and looking for a check, and I said I don't have one until at least the 17th, but the vehicle seems to be working out good. It's a black van, so it kind of fits the picture.
And I would not have a problem absorbing it into my fleet. I would request a standalone line item for it if I have to be responsible for the repairs and replacement of it. I would not be able to absorb that into my current vehicle fund, because that would be an additional vehicle, of course. So, but if you want the county to own it and you need somebody to manage it, I would agree to do that.
Yeah.
But I don't have storage for it. I
Well,
don't-
they're storing it out there anyway.
Okay.
Oh, where, John?
Storage right at Corner's house, right
This is annoying.
at Brenner's house.
Let me go first. All right, this came up, history on this came up at budget hearings, and Executive Finance Committee turned this down because Bonnie bought the car without any authorization, she just saw a car sitting in somebody's front lawn and thought that she really wanted it, and she took her own money and she went and bought it. And it turns out the thing needed brakes, and she spent $900 or something like that, some exorbitant amount on a brake job. And I argued against it at Executive Finance, saying that number one, we shouldn't be validating people's decisions to do things like this. If you need a van, Bonnie made a great claim for a great pitch for her. She needs a van. If you need a van, I said, well, then begin a project initiation form. Let's buy something that is new or relatively new, something that we know we can insure without any problem, that we know the maintenance record on it, and then we'll become part of the fleet. If we take this, Sheriff's gratefully decided to accept it, but if we take it, we're essentially, to me, she bought a lemon on her own initiative, and now we're going to take it on. Why should we do that? I don't see any good reason for it. That's my input.
My question is the sheriff's department and the coroner are two separate departments?
Well, but she's under this committee, right, overall?
Yeah, but if we put the sheriff's department, if we have the sheriff's department taking responsibility for a vehicle that is used by another department, what kind of difficulties would that create? Who asks for the, it's a separate budget item, but it's under the authority and the use of a different department, so he wouldn't even have any authority technically, I guess, on anything to do with it. I think it creates the possibility that, while now we have parties that are involved in the agreement that, have a gentleman's agreement, gentlewoman's agreement, but, what happens if one of those parties changes and then the next person in that position is less agreeable? So by creating this informal patchwork kind of thing, I'm concerned about all kinds of things.
She
that
has her
involve
own
legal.
budget, doesn't she?
She has her own budget, and this actually even came to this committee before it went to budget. So it actually has been before this committee and at that time.
It seems like it probably should be in her budget.
Right, it should be in her budget, and was it June, July, no, it was August, September, sometime where it actually did come before this committee. So we were aware that she'd made the purchase. She was instructed to go to, because she said it had something to do with COVID, so I said what I always say, okay, go find out if we can get this covered by COVID funds, let's see if we can get it covered by FEMA. And then I have no idea where the turnout of that went.
I don't know, I think the point that Mr. Zeglin brings up is the proper procedure wasn't followed.
Absolutely.
It came to this committee, but she had already purchased the vehicle. Spur of the moment kind of purchase, from what I understand, and
Yeah, she saw it and actually turned around and went back, or saw it, and then she figured you better buy it or it won't be there. But,
yeah, that's the thing with vehicles.
yeah,
There's a couple million of them out there.
yeah.
You miss one, there's another one going to come by soon.
Did, in the past, did they always owned a vehicle for that, or have they leased out that service to
I think
somebody?
she
or-
just gets paid so much a trip for mileage,
I think the whole thing is a change in business. They're doing a lot more autopsies. There are, as Bonnie said, and I know this to be a fact, having been involved with it in the past, we used to take the non-pathological autopsies or the criminal autopsies to Eau Claire, and that's just a boom, boom. Was relatively inexpensive, a couple $100, and but they quit doing it, and there's nobody available to do autopsies on individuals who cease to exist in an unattended manner, which I don't know if it's law, but that's acceptable practice. So if, well, There was a fatal traffic accident between here and Blair recently. Young lady from Whitehall was killed, and she went up to, is it Ramsey County?
Yeah.
That's where they're all being done now.
Yep, for an autopsy. And that never used to be that way. And that's 2.5-hour transport, an expensive detailed autopsy, and then somebody's got to bring them back. I think Bonnie used to use her own vehicle.
I
And
think
that,
what started in the first place, she also does this for Jackson County. 'Cause
Yep.
and
she's
they-
the
they
medical
furnish a
examiner over there, which
And they
allows her
furnish a
to
vehicle.
do it in 2 counties. Because it's an appointed spot in Jackson and not an elected one.
I'd like to follow up on that, Ron. Because I couldn't hear you, John, but I was going to raise the point. Is Bonnie contracting, or she's medical examiner for Jackson County, so she's transporting dead people for Jackson County?
With their vehicle.
With their
With their
vehicle.
vehicle, okay.
County has their own. And that's where she got the idea that we should have our own, I guess. But she did it without, like you said, without proper channels. She should have just came to this committee and said,
By this time, we could have, if we had gone through the project initiation form, we could have had one.
Right.
I was just trying to figure out a way to straighten this out without too many hard feelings.
Well, there is the thought of the ramifications if we turn her down and make her pay for the vehicle herself, because I don't think that would be much fun for anyone involved.
I know what you're saying, but I think we're setting a precedent
Yeah,
then
I-
that certain people who have a position have the ability to flaunt the rules
Yeah.
and discard the process because it might be perceived that their job is more important or they are more indispensable, which could create a catastrophic policy that's unintended.
You're not getting any argument from me on that point.
I mean, I guess a few thoughts. One, has anybody consulted with Rick on this, our attorney? On if he can think of a way that we can find resolution to this without violating county policy, because if we violate county policy, if we've learned anything, we could get in trouble.
That'd probably be a good idea to have it county.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. We'll come down. Because, yes, we've turned other employee requests for reimbursement of personal property, we've turned those down, and those are people who lost personal property while on the job. If we're getting into the business of personal property purchases, reimbursements, et cetera, and we don't. We allow one person to get a sizable reimbursement when they didn't follow policy, and we've denied other reimbursements. We could have a whole lot of other people upset.
Is this something that should be tabled until we've had Corp Counsel look at this and give us a reasonable explanation as to what the right thing to do?
Does anybody know if he's aware of it?
Well, I'm
What
not sure.
would Corp Counsel, what could Corp Counsel do? I
See if
guess-
there's a violation, I guess, of
Yeah,
county
just find out
policy.
even what the
Violation.
legal ramifications would be of any action that we take.
May I offer a suggestion?
Yes.
The vehicle is currently hers, and that's kind of the way the committee is leaning. Maybe she comes into this as a new project initiation, that she owns the vehicle, but she does the project initiation to come forward to see if the county is willing to take the vehicle or purchase the vehicle from her and take it on, knowing that it could go either way. Then it would be through the proper channels, but
Has she made any effort to submit a project initiation form on this?
No.
Because
I asked her to do
that was mentioned when she
Right.
was here the first time.
Right, and I mentioned it again in late October, whenever we were doing budget hearing.
Right.
And as I said, it could have been done already if she just complied with the procedure.
How does this sound? We go back to her with that being a necessary part of the process, and maybe we could speed things up a little bit once we get a project initiation form from her. It starts the process. Because I can understand she's got almost $6,000 or over $6,000 expended, she might have a use for that somewhere else.
Yeah, the actual figure is $6,343.70.
Okay.
What was the brake job bill? Do you have that?
$875.07.
I thought it was close to $900.
I thought, well, that's a high-priced brake job. I've
That's a
actually
huge
done
amount of brakes.
truck a couple times.
Rotors and everything, I'm
Yeah.
guessing.
Right, we don't, the county policy is simple. Before somebody makes a purchase, they have to go through their respective committee. It's not part of their budget. To even come on the back end of it
Yeah.
could still have unintended consequences, and the law of unintended consequences is a very harsh law.
Did she purchase this vehicle in the intent to have the county own it, or did she
I think
purchase
so.
it
Yeah.
to be able to
But she told, she
lease it back? You
kind
know, I guess
of
that's my
misled me
question.
the other day. She came in to get a check because she hadn't got paid yet, and she said, it was approved by committee. So I said, "By which committee?" And I don't know, she said it was law enforcement committee, but I went through all the minutes from this committee, exec finance, and everything all the way back to ours, from all the way back to October, and I don't see anything that
It's
went
been
through
turned
any
down by
committee.
two
for-
committees.
That was my point, you know, she bought this vehicle without going to a committee and asking to purchase one.
No.
And September kind of eludes me, I wasn't here, but I didn't know if anything like that had happened prior to this, and so
I
if
think
you
when-
go out and just buy a vehicle and with the intention of selling it back to the county without really talking to a committee about it,
I think when she came before budget, she just said, she just happened to see this thing, and she said, well, that'd make a great,
Yeah.
perfect vehicle, and so she just went, stuck out on her own and bought it.
And if I remember correctly, at the Law Enforcement Committee, she initially addressed this. The feeling in the room might have been positive as far as she was concerned, but we took no action. We didn't say, no, you know, naughty girl, you didn't follow until you get it done right, you're not going to get paid. But we didn't take any action.
I remember.
We are pretty non-confrontational as a whole, and maybe in certain cases, we should quit being non-confrontational and just say it like it is.
I do remember telling her to find out if this was something, because it was she used the word COVID, so I said, okay, go find
Yeah.
out if we could get this reimbursed in some way through, because during COVID, certainly during the initial months, people were having to make emergency expenditures. There was, you were having to respond. You know this, Dan, you sometimes have to. But I never heard back. I mean, I wasn't at November's meeting, but, yeah. I guess I just worry, if it's a $6,000 car now, what happens when it's a $500,000 snowplow?
What year is this vehicle?
I don't even know, it doesn't say on that. The only thing I got is the bill from Snyder.
Probably says it at the top of the bill usually.
2008, Chrysler Town and Country.
Yeah, and my point in November at the budget hearing, this is an old vehicle that's going to have a lot of repairs. She bought it there was no provision for insuring the vehicle. At that age, it's going to require constant repairs. It would be better to start with a new vehicle, put it in the budgets, be in a project form, buy a new vehicle, put it in whoever's budget is, because there's going to be ongoing costs from this. So it's not just, so at this point, it's a, what is that, $7,200 vehicle, and it's going to keep costing money.
You do quite a bit of work at Snyder. I think it's pretty high priced place. It's $408.91 for each end, one front, one rear, for brakes.
I've seen even
Rotors.
back when we had the Crown Victorias even, that's a pretty consistent price, because they won't just put pads on, especially in a squad car application. For liability purposes, they replace the rotors as well, and to do a full vehicle is very typically right around $800 and has been for quite a few years.
And you weren't able to get a hold of Rick?
I just texted him.
Okay, I'm going to make.
I can't. Oh, is there a WebEx link to this?
There was, I saw, did you send it or did, I saw an email.
Is he trying to?
Yeah, do you know what it's under?
I'll see if I can find it, I'll email it.
You're really putting him on the spot here.
Yeah, he's gonna
We're all
have
on
to
the spot.
research.
What were you going to say, Sally? You were going to say,
You were gonna make a motion, I knew it, I sensed it.
I love how you all get me.
well, you did say something.
I said, but then yeah, stop. I guess at this point, we don't, is Rick in communication with you?
Yeah, just on text message.
Okay.
But he's asked if there's a WebEx link, and I said there is, so, and he's looking for
Okay.
it. It should be,
Tell him it's coming right now.
Okay.
You should have it.
I think I know what he's going to say, in which case, then I'll make my motion. He's basically going to tell us to table it until we can look at it.
Well, I can make a motion that we can further address this once we receive a project initiation form from the coroner. I mean, that will give us time to do the research and make a decision. I don't think we can, I agree with Sally. We can't okay this if she's not going through the established procedure to have the vehicle purchased.
I will not vote for any payment here. You're setting,
that a motion
you're setting
you
a
made?
precedent.
Yeah.
You made a
Can't do
motion.
this.
I think before we discuss it, we have to have a second to the motion. Is there a second to the motion?
before you close this, anyway, I have one question. If it does, do we have to go to full county board, or is this, do you have it in your budget that you could cover it if it,
Do I have it in my budget?
yeah?
No.
So it's gonna have to go to
And you-
exec finance to get
I
the,
don't think you can even take from one department's budget to cover another department's unbudgeted item. I
Yeah.
think that sets us up for
I was
very
gracious-
well-founded
Have to
accusations of
come out of the
corruption.
general fund.
I was graciously offering, but I welcomed the comments, so.
And I think
I think we need to let you off the hook, Brett.
who pays and who owns it is a matter for discussion once the project is okayed. And we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here if we're.
Okay, we
worried
have a
about that.
motion. Is there a second to the motion?
Could you repeat your motion?
Is to not make a decision on this till we receive a project initiation form.
To defer decision until you,
Yep.
okay, I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
See if Rick's on now.
Rick is
Motion
on.
carried.
Rick, are you available? Oh, we had this, we just basically turned it down for now, but anyway, we had a bill from Bonnie Kinch, the coroner. She purchased a van for $5,000, spent $875 on a brake job and $468 on tires, so the total bill is $6,343.70. And she wants to sell it to the county, because she currently does coroner work for Jackson County, and they furnish a van, so she figured Trempealeau County should too. But she didn't go through proper channels, she didn't use a project initiation form, so I'm just trying to figure out a way to solve this. Any ideas?
Fair to say that she doesn't have the money in her budget to cover this expense.
I don't know, I'll have to check with her on that. I'll check with Stacy or Paul. They should know.
Probably not. She didn't, it was never part of her budget from year to year. And it was not even a budget request. We found out about it after it had all gone down.
What happens is you just happen to be driving by and saw this van in the yard somewhere, I don't know, and then turned around, went back, he said that'd be a perfect vehicle because it's black and whatever. And then I don't know if they're married or not, her husband or Raymond anyway, he fixed it up so it can, load and unload by just sliding in the back. So it's made just for that. And she does a lot of transport to the cities, which is another problem I have, because I think they just do way too many autopsies. When you have that car accident, what the heck killed them. It was a car accident killed them.
So the question I had, which is why I'd asked about is there even a way that we can do this with board policy?
Basically approving something after the fact.
Correct.
Yeah. What I would propose is that she complete the request, whether it's a project initiation form or some kind of a formal presentation requesting that this is something that she needs and why. And come before this committee, and then this committee can decide if it's appropriate or not. And so go through that channel and then decide whether or not to approve the funding for it.
Okay, I think that's the motion we just
Which we just did.
voted on.
We just did.
Yeah,
Okay.
they just made a motion that they should look at it again after she comes up with a project initiation form.
Okay, yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense, just so that way you guys know why it is that she's requesting it. And then obviously you know what the amount is, but then all the details of the amounts, and then determine whether it's appropriate or not. So yeah, so I think that would be probably the best route to go.
Okay. Makes sense.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
You bet.
Okay, and the motion has already been carried, so that should take care
Did
of
we
it.
vote, Carol?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, actually, I think you finished your vote before you got it on.
We voted after the second. Discussion and possible action on monthly department and jail activities / concerns.
Yeah, maybe, can we, Rick, we don't need you anymore. That didn't take much to get rid of.
Sale of equipment.
All right, so I just sold 3 squad cars on the Wisconsin surplus auction. And if most of you, maybe not all of you, remember, about a year to a year and a half ago, this committee authorized a resolution for me to sell excess equipment that we had on the same site and put the proceeds into my vehicle replacement fund. So I recently sold the 3 squad cars and a lot of old partitions and center consoles and light bars. And this month I'll be receiving a check for that sale in the amount of $38,228 that will go back into my vehicle fund. The 3 squad cars were a 2017 and 2018 Explorer and a 2017 Dodge Charger. Typically I would get about $6,000 to $6,500 on trade for those vehicles. On the auction, for those 3 vehicles alone, I got $35,313. So that will help me.
better.
That is much better. And what I do is I take the vehicles home and I'll work on them for a couple days at my house, clean them up real good, put them back together to what we got them from the factory, and it's really paid off. And with this, of course, now the Dodge Durangos are up $3,000 this year, so all of them are about $3,500 or more. Can't even order any Dodge products for 2022, just so you're aware, for law enforcement purposes. But this will help me start replacing some expensive equipment like light bars too on these vehicles without going to the tax levy here.
Sticker price is now $35,000.
$35,500, yes, for the Durango and the Explorer with the gas engine. If you want the Explorer with the hybrid engine, then it's they're about $3,000 more for that. So,
Is there any thought in law enforcement for going to electric cars?
no. I don't know of any that are using, there are agencies that have parking police that enforce parking only, and they are using electric vehicles for that, but I have not heard of any going towards the electric,
I know they
totally
got
electric
get up
vehicle.
and go. I got a friend of mine in 40 and 8 that's got.
The problem there is squad cars often sit idle a lot at scenes with the light bars on, and I don't know how electric could support that, so.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think the technology is there quite yet, anyway.
Yeah, I would agree.
You know, even those that have what apparently to me is a decent distance before recharging becomes necessary, my guess is that's overestimated, and under squad car conditions, I don't know how that would play out. And I don't think it would work if you had to stop in the middle of your shift to recharge.
Correct. And if you're out at a crash scene in the middle of winter for a couple hours and it's cold, I don't know how an electric vehicle would heat. I don't know what kind of a heater an electric vehicle has when it's cold. The hybrid, of course, runs on gas and electric, but a totally electric car, I think, is a long ways out for law enforcement use anyway.
Well, I think we'll see it in our lifetimes, but I don't think it's here yet.
Right.
Do you have a vehicle that's compressed natural gas?
No.
We're looking at one?
Sheriff Anderson at one time had me do a project and look to see if it was feasible.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And at that time, it was a conversion involved of about $3,000, I believe. And the difference in the fuels compared to the cost of the conversion and the unknown effects on the Crown Victoria at that time of converting them made him decide not to do it, so. But there are some out there, though.
There's
You have to use a separate tank then to it, it takes up
Yep.
room.
Yep.
And then you've got compressed gas.
availability, compressed natural gas would be an issue in this county as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where's the closest? I think I saw a quick trip up between Chippewa and Eau Claire on the bypass that's got compressed natural gas, but that's the only place I've seen
I think
it.
there's one in La Crosse, but
The Cross Sheriff's Office did have a few compressed natural gas vehicles, so they must have a depot down there
I think
somewhere.
it was the one downtown,
Yeah.
or near downtown.
So that's update on, now I won't have equipment like that to sell every time. That took care of our supply probably. We do have some evidence, stuff that is going to be lawfully disposed of here, and auction is the way that you dispose of it when approved by the courts, that it can be released. So there's a potential there, but it's probably not going to be to the extent that this was here. So there was a lot of equipment out at that impound shed, 20 years worth. So that's a report on the sale of equipment. Before we get into the jail meal contracting, that's next on the agenda. That's still a process moving forward. We did discover in recent billing that apparently prior to my tenure as sheriff, there was some type of a handshake agreement that 5 extra meals, 5 extra breakfasts, 5 extra lunches, and 5 extra dinners, so 15 total per day, was going to be supplied for staff up there. That was discovered in a recent billing. Tanya, I can't answer why it took so long to figure that out, but anyway, that has been retracted. We are no longer paying for 15 extra meals a day beginning in December 1st now. And we are still moving forward with looking into on-site meal preparation in the current building, possibly in the next few months. I'm working with a vendor on getting some costs to compare to what we're currently paying. I would likely do it if it stays within my current budget. If it does not, I don't know that I'm really want to come forward and make that change, if only for 2 more years. So, but I'll have a more concrete report on that in January on where that's at. Anybody have any questions about the meal part? Before we get to vouchers, I'm happy to report, I'm a member of the Badger State Sheriff's Association, and if you recall, the hurricanes that went through Louisiana earlier this fall resulted in some devastating damage to not only private property, but to property of the responders that respond to help these people that have had issues. And the association adopted 6 sheriff's deputies in Louisiana and was able to, these words escape me now. They did a program in.
Reciprocity?
No. We did a donation request statewide, and we received $36,000. So each one of those 6 deputies got a check of $6,000 from the Badger State Sheriff's Association. That is half of the sheriffs participated in that. So, and Trempealeau County is one of them. So I just want to report to you that that went over well, and I think we did a very good thing for some of our partners in the South. So.
Is there anything similar in the works for Kentucky and those states hit by the tornadoes?
I suspect that could be
Basically.
coming. I have not heard yet. It's pretty early. This all started probably a month after the hurricanes went through, so I suspect we'll be hearing of the devastation here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I don't believe that is quite of a widespread of an area, but the catastrophic damage in the area that it did, every police officer and firefighter and first responder had to have just as much damage as to the ones they were going to assist. So.
Years ago, my son went down and volunteered after tornadoes in Louisiana, I think it was, or Mississippi somewhere, but with a bunch of firefighters. And at the time, they explained to him just how their tax base is and the funding that they get, and explained how strapped they are for money, and that they don't enjoy some of the windfalls that larger communities or larger counties might have. So I think this is probably really a very helpful thing. Especially, it sounds like it's from some of the same communities, so it's awesome. That's great.
So jail remains fairly steady. Our average daily population still hovers right around 30. For the month of November, our out-of-county population was right around 10. It's been 8 to 10 the last few months. Nothing real new to report on the population status of the jail. So no major incidents up there to report this month, which I'm happy. Tanya, do you have anything to add to a jail report here? Anything you'd like for the committee to hear?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
So,
What is the county paying per day, per head, out of county?
that depends on the contract. We have one contract is $35 per day. We have another one that just increased from $43 per day to $50 per day, and I'm in the middle of 2 other contract negotiations. They're $45 to $50. So we're going to be right on budget at the $150,000 at the end of the year. We'll be right on.
Is that figure a pretty average annual cost?
It's low. Typically, it's been between 180 and 230,000 pre-COVID. Our average daily population pre-COVID was right around 50. So the ADP now is right around 30 typically. The Department of Corrections has significantly reduced their sanctions on probation offenders to a disturbing level, I think. There was more signature bonds being issued recently. I think the Waukesha incident is going to change that. We're going to see our ADPs going up because of the Waukesha parade incident. So we're at a little bit of a low right now, but it's going to be temporary.
Is that individual out on parole, or?
He was out on a very low bond that the district attorney had recommended down there, and there's argument that bond should have been significantly higher, and prosecutors and judges across the state are taking note of what's going on down there.
This is domestic.
Yes.
I have a question about the, I don't know if am I jumping ahead, about the monies received, or the vouchers?
Yeah, I don't have anything else to report, so.
Sheriff, I'm just curious, because you just mentioned sanctions. Under the page that says, monies received, third from the bottom, the item is DOC ES sanctions, October 2573. What is that?
That's for housing, and Tanya, correct me if I'm wrong, the top one, the jail reimbursement one, the state of Wisconsin for $1,900, that is for holding folks that are sentenced to prison, but they won't accept them yet because there's a delayed acceptance because of COVID. Am I right on that one, Tanya?
No, just a tad off.
Okay, go ahead then. There was an item for that at one time, so.
Yeah, so, there's a couple different programs, so it's easy to get them confused. So the extended supervision is a contract that the county entered into. It was a MOU that we did with the Department of Corrections. So instead of somebody, let's say an inmate is looking at going back to prison as a result of multiple violations, instead of going to prison, they serve their time in jail. As a result, the county gets reimbursed for that housing cost at a rate of about $51 a day.
Correct, and that is the question that Mr. Ziegler had. That's the line item of $2,573. But right above it, it says jail reimbursement COVID-19 for August.
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, that's the one I was referring to.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes,
Yeah.
you're correct on that one.
So the top one is for monies we received because the state delayed us in bringing somebody to prison. The question Mr. Ziegler had was the $2,573 charge.
And more specifically, what does the DOC S stand for?
Department of Corrections.
No, Department of Corrections, okay, so that's an acronym, ES?
Extended supervision, parole, probation and parole.
Okay, when I get frustrated, if I can't read it, I get really frustrated.
I don't blame you. Yeah, yeah,
It just doesn't fit.
yeah.
Like, I'd have to do like pages, you guys would get like year two.
Yeah, it'd be long.
Any other questions?
No, thank you, both of you.
I'd like to say something.
Kelly?
I got a phone call from somebody who has a family member who has been within the jail within the past few months, and this individual wanted to extend to the county board, but also specifically to the sheriff's department, how much they appreciated, how respectfully they were treated as then interacted as family members of a person in the jail, as well as how the family member was treated as well. So they wanted me to make a public affirmation of the work that you're doing and the compassion, and they didn't want to write a letter because they didn't want it to become a public record, but they wanted me to convey that on their behalf, so that you guys understood how much it meant to them and probably others who go through the same thing. So again, well done. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I won't take credit for that. I silently expect that, but that comes from Tanya and her staff up there, so.
Outstanding leadership.
Yeah. And that's something you don't hear every day.
That's why they asked me to say it.
Okay, no other questions from anybody? Next meeting date, third Wednesday?
That brings us to
19th,
January 19th.
9 o'clock? Provided there's no fog.
If we haven't blown away.
I will state that I will attempt to, if I, sometimes I am in a facility that is rather secure, so I'm not able to appear remotely, but if I'm able to get to a parking lot, I will attempt to, if I am scheduled to be there that day.
That day works for you, Brett?
Yes.
Okay. January 19th at 9 o'clock. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Dave, are there any, the equipment auction